I might tag this in with the news. I don't know. The news around here is getting kind of boring. It's the same old, same old. People getting ripped off, drunks being picked up for one reason or another, shoplifters on the outskirts of the villages, and new steakhouse opening in Lake Sumter. That's probably the third or fourth restaurant that's been in that same building. People just getting priced out. I mean, they just want way too much for the food. The food is not that good for the price you're paying. That's just my personal opinion. There's some food here that's good, but it's not worth the price you're paying. There really isn't. Like all the country clubs south of 466A, which is owned by the same company, F&K Foods or something like that. Ever since they bought the Finney Grill, they've been raising their prices a little bit at a time. Beer now has went up from, they just raised it not too long ago, just this last winter. It went from I think it was $2.25 for a 16-ounce glass, and it went to $2.50, or it could have been $2. Then it went to $2.50. And now I found out, because I haven't been playing golf, I found out from a friend of mine that now it's up to $3 a glass. And I guess some of the other places has followed suit and raised their prices to $3 a glass, which is crazy because you can go to other country clubs in the villages, and I'm sure the beer distributor is the same person, and beer there is like $1.68 for a 16-ounce glass. So I don't get it, other than the fact that they're just trying to make up for it. Went to Evans Prairie here about 6 months ago. This is back in the wintertime. And for lunch, and they brought the menu out, which I've seen the lunch menu 100 times. But I just happened to glance at it, and I was looking at the prices, and I asked our favorite waitress what the deal was. And she just said, well, they decided to raise prices. And the hot dog is $10. A regular hamburger is like $13. I'm sorry, I just think that's nuts. I'm not going to pay it. I haven't been to Evans Prairie now in months because of some of the prices and other things too. Bonifay's out, Belglade's out. I'm just not going to go. I'm just not going to pay them high prices like that. They're gouging residents, and I'll tell you what they're really doing. They really gouge the snowbirds that come down because the snowbirds don't know because they're not here. And a lot of the snowbirds don't really care because to them coming down here for 3 months in the winter is like a vacation, so they don't really care one way or the other. But the people that live here full time, we notice. And slowly but surely, a lot of these places inside the villages, restaurants I'm basically referring to, are losing my loyalty, so to speak. I used to be very loyal. Oh my God. These unknown phone calls I keep getting. Jesus. I don't know how they got my number or why, but I wish they'd quit it. And you can't stop it. So anyway, they're losing my loyalty to the point where I don't feel loyal to a lot of the inside the villages stuff anymore. I used to be really loyal. I wouldn't go much outside to buy anything if I could buy it inside. I always felt like this was the stomping grounds right here. If I was to sell a house, I always went to the village's real estate company because the village is run, and the real estate company is run by the developers' relations, kids, grandkids. They started this place, and I always felt like it was their idea. They took the risk. It was their money, nobody else's. Now, because it's grown to the size that it's grown, I feel like a lot of the outsiders are trying to cash in. They're trying to take a little money out of the village's pockets and put it in their pocket. Now that's kind of the way I feel about it. I know I know what the laws are. So the laws are the laws, but like my grandpa always said, just because you can don't mean you should. And so I've always been loyal to them in a lot of ways. But I'm slowly but surely losing my loyalty to a lot of this because it just almost reminds me, they call this the Disney World for retirees. And in some ways that's true. But the one thing that's not going to be true with me is you go into Disney World, and if any of you's been there recently, or really for any amusement park for that matter, not just Disney World. You're a captured audience. So if you want a Coke, it's $5. That's highway robbery, isn't it? If you want to go to get yourself a hot dog, they might charge you $10 for a hot dog in Disney World. That's highway robbery, isn't it? Well, that's what's happening here, little by little. They think we're a captured audience, and by God, I'm not. I mean, I like it in a lot of ways, but I'm not going to be gouged like that at all. I will take my business outside the villages. I will go to Olive Garden. I will go to all these other different restaurants around the villages, and I'll just quit going to the ones here. I will go to Oshucks, which is just 2 minutes down the road. I have to take my car. I can't take the golf cart, but I'll go to Oshucks, and I'll get me a burger and a beer down there. Beer down there is like $1.50, for a bottle. I'm not paying $3. That's it. Now they're going to lose me. I hope they make enough money in the wintertime to make up the difference. But I got a feeling they're going to lose a little bit of their business. Maybe not all. And I'm not saying I'll never partake there at all. But I used to go there a couple times a week. And I haven't been Eva's Prairie now in probably 2 or 3 months. And that don't necessarily mean I won't go there for a meet and greet and have a beer or two or something like that. I may do that. But it's not going to be a regular hangout like it has been. So that being said, I got an interesting question from somebody, Mark Priest. It came yesterday, and I thought it was kind of interesting. I thought I'd just go ahead and deal with it now. It says, I find it interesting that you're showing houses that people bought new and are selling them after living in them for less than 5 years. By the way, that's not unusual here. Not just here, anywhere in the state of Florida. In your experience, what are the top 3 reasons people are selling a house that they bought new after living in it 1 to 5 years? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not sure I could pick out the top 3 reasons. Everybody's got their own personal reasons, for whatever. I'll just tell you some of the things that I know happen, and I'll use myself as an example instead of picking out somebody else. I mean, I always use me as an example. I make fun of me all the time. Here's what happens. The average person will come down, and for however they come down, for a lifestyle visit, or they just come down for a week or two and rent a house, whatever. But a lot of people come down, they're not really retired yet, or even if they are retired, they'll come down and decide that we're going to buy a part-time home. And in those cases, most cases, a part-time home means a smaller home, generally speaking a villa of some kind, a patio villa, a courtyard villa, whatever. And they get it in an area. They try to get it at the best price they can because they're only going to be here somewhere between 3, 4, 5 months a year. And so they don't want to spend a ton of money if they can keep from it. And so they buy it. After a year or two of coming down here, they decide that they like it here as a full-time residence better than they do up north. And so they decide to sell their house up north and come down here full-time. So instead of coming down here to be a snowbird in the wintertime, they snowbird the opposite direction, which is what I do. Instead of being up north and having a house up there and coming down here in the winter and worrying about pipes freezing and, the gutters falling off the house because of too much ice buildup, all the stuff. And then going back up there in the summer and then having somebody down here to mow the grass and keep an eye on the house and all that, we decided to come down full time like a lot of people do, get rid of the house up north and all that worry, and we did. And then when the summertime comes around, we go up north and visit everybody, which we do. And now that I've got the motorhome, I can take it up there with me and find me a cheap campground somewhere and park it and plug it in, and I can stay up there as long as I want. And there's a lot of people that do that. So that's one reason for selling a house after only 1 to say, usually that happens between 1 and 3 years. And then you buy a bigger house. There's house number 2. And you're here full time. It all depends on who you are. Now, here's where some of the reasons for getting rid of that house kind of differ a little bit. Some people decide that after they're here for 1 to 2 or 3 years, they're in the wrong location. They decided that they really like going to this or that rec center for whatever reason. They want to buy a house closer to that rec center because that's where they go all the time. And so when a house pops up that meets their agenda, they move to that house. And that's how they end up selling this house. Or there's a death. He dies, she dies. And then they decide usually one or two things. And I've seen this many times. He or she doesn't want to live here anymore without the other. So they sell the house and they move back up north to be closer to the kids and grandkids. Or he decides he still wants to stay here. He's got his friends here. She's got her friends here. Whoever's left. And so they decide that they're going to buy a smaller home because this house is too big for me. Or if they financed part of that house, once the other party passes on, they might find that their income lost, Social Security lost, maybe part of his pensions lost, all them kind of things, that the budget's a little tight. And so they decide to buy a smaller home for maybe those reasons. But most people just buy a smaller home because it's just easier for one person to take care of. Most villas, not all, patio villas, courtyard villas are 2 bedroom, 2 bath. Generally speaking, plenty big enough for one person, easy to take care of. The yard maintenance is a lot smaller. It's a lot cheaper if you hire somebody to mow your yard, to trim your bushes or whatever, much cheaper. And it's cheaper to air condition because the square footage is less. It's cheaper to heat. It's everything about it's cheaper. And so they would buy one of those. Now, let's move on to another little subject about why people sell within 5 years. Usually that's the limit, 5. It's investors. A lot of people buy homes here, and they may even live here. It's just an investment to them. That's all it is. They enjoy the lifestyle. They enjoy the villages. But the villages right now is booming. And the homes that they sell here are selling very, very quickly. As you all know from a video, Bob's house over there sold within a day or two. It's just very quick. So, 5 years, they sell off and they take their profit and move on. Examples. Straight across the street from my house, an elderly man and his wife bought this house. He was still working full time. Come to find out later, he was a village's realtor. She done something at one of the stores, village's furniture stores. They were here maybe 2 years, and I never saw a sign for sale or anything, but he must have known somebody that knew somebody because he moved out. He bought another new house over in Pine Hills, I think at the time when Pine Hills was new, and they sold this house. He took his profit and run. The people next door to him, a younger couple, they both work full time. He told me himself, he said, I'm going to keep the house maybe 5 years. And he said, then I'm either going to sell it or I might just rent it out. Well, he now has a full-time position working for some medical facility of some kind in Las Vegas. So he's gone. She is probably going to be moving there with him. So she's gone a lot. They're trying to sell their house now by owner. They haven't sold it, which tells me the price is either too high or there's something involved there. I don't know. But anyway, so to him, this home wasn't a lifestyle. To her, it wasn't a lifestyle. All it was about was making a buck or two. And so that's another reason why people sell within 5 years. I'm watching a little lizard down here in my lanai. I can't get rid of him. I've tried to catch the little guy and throw him outside because if I don't, he's going to die in here. There's nothing for him to eat. But he's quick. But anyway. So there's another reason why a lot of them sell within 1 to 5 years. I've been here 4.5, going on 5. My wife and I have just considered, we talked about it, let's put it that way, about possibly selling this house because I know what it's worth, where we're at, and taking our profit and run. We thought about, I'm not leaving the villages, I don't think, but we thought about buying a new house, maybe down at Marsh Bend area or DeSoto or someplace down there, somewhere where the location would have to be right. But as of right now, I don't think I'm going to do anything. I'm not going anywhere. I just enjoy this location a lot here for me. And I know a lot of people that are here enjoy this location a lot. But I don't think I'm going anywhere. No, I just think I'm satisfied right here, and I think this is probably where I'm going to stay unless something happens. And then when that happens, when the day comes that happens, either I pass away or Sue passes away, um, it's a flip of the coin. Who knows? We got a house big enough for the two of us. It's not a huge house, but the house is plenty big enough for the two of us. We live here very comfortably. Is it the perfect house? No. Is it the house I'd like to have? No. Um, I can afford a much bigger house. I can afford something different, but I'm not going to do that. I think I'm just going to stay right here, and I'm just going to enjoy what I've got, and I enjoy my neighbors. As right now, I don't really have many neighbors. Donnie sold his house over here. These people come down in the wintertime. They're not here. Bob will be leaving, and I think the people buying that house are going to be part-timers, winter people, and so they're not going to be here all summer. Lady across the street, she's gone all the time. She works for an airline. She works full-time. And the people on the corner from Canada, they're only here a week or two at a time, and then they're gone for a month or two. So, and then if the kids that are not here either, that's got the house for sale, that moved to Vegas that I just talked about, they're not here. So I'm surrounded by empty homes. And people right behind me, they were here a couple weeks ago. I saw him out here. He mowed the grass and done some stuff, and now he's gone. So he's here and he's gone. So they're not here half the time. And he's only here really for 3 months in the winter. The rest of the year, it's just a week now and then. He doesn't hang around much. So I don't really have that many people living around me. That's good or good. It's good or it's bad. I personally, I kind of like it because it's quiet. I can sit out here in a lanai and I can talk without somebody eavesdropping on what I'm saying. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I hope that's within my 8-minute limit here. That's my new standard. I'm going to try to keep my videos between 8 and 10 minutes. I hope that answers your questions. There's a lot more answers to that questions, but I think from what I see, those are the more popular answers. So until then, until you come down and you become one of us, I'll see you on the other side.